Let's see how the stream looks. Let's see how the stream looks. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay. Let's see how the stream looks. All right. Okay, so today we have the Ender 3V2, very common stock machine, and we will be installing a direct drive upgrade. This is from SliceWorx, and we'll be just installing the mechanical, and then I think I'll do the electrical and filament loading and all that another time. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take off these. We use our big wrench, and we're going to take off the big screws up here so that we can take this top bar off. Alright, let's see if I can adjust the camera a little better. There we go. Okay. So how's everybody doing today? I hope things are warming up for you. Everybody's got a cigar box collection in the background, right? Now, what I like to do first is take off this extruder part. We're going to be replacing this anyway, so it'll just make it easier. Oops. And then we take off the little plug here. We got to push this back and pull that out. Alright. Like I said, we'll be taking off the electrical and other things in another video. So then we want to remove this screw here. It holds the belt tensioner on. Take that off. Hey, my camera's not cooperating today at all. And then we can take this screw off. It's okay, I'll recut this video. And we turn the whole machine around, do the hokey pokey, and we turn the machine around. We're going to take off this screw here and this screw here so that we can take this plate off. Do the hokey pokey and we turn ourselves around. That's how you upgrade parts. Okay, then we want to be careful about lifting the machine. And then we're going to take this off. this part here. And then what we have to do is we have to rotate this. Looked a whole lot better in pre-production. So then we slide this up the lead screw so that we can take the X gantry off. We want to be careful when we get to the top. Okay. And then we've got that piece taken off. And the bracket. So then we're going to want to take off these little belt holders. They just slide right out. Let's see, yeah, they just slide through that slot. Try not to let this piece fall off the belt. It's a pain in the butt trying to get it back on. Alright. So there we go. So we want to make sure that this piece doesn't slide off. But we're going to have to hold that there, and we need to slide this all the way down and all the way off like that. And then we can just set that aside. And while we have this all setting right here like this, we take the new one. It has the same type of wheel alignment, and we just slide it and slide it on. Now, a few things to point out here. We want to make sure that that belt stays in the slot here. See it? Yeah. The wheels go under. And then we can gently turn this over. And reattach the belt to the bottom of the carriage again. Now I've noticed that the spacing on this is a little further, it's a little tighter than the old one. So you got to be careful. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay. There we go. Fits in there. And if you look at the old one, versus the new one, see how much tighter that is? So you just have to be careful with that. Okay, so then being careful that this does not fall off, we want to bring that down and around. And then slide it up underneath here. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, so then we slide it up underneath there. Get it in the slot. It's a little tricky trying to slot that in there. especially if this is the first time you've tried to do this. My camera fuzzy? I'm glad nobody's watching. Comedy of errors. That's what I'm going to call my channel. Now, you can see they're both set in there. Yeah, my camera is fuzzy. Okay, so then we want to bring that back around. Like I said, this is going to be a little tight. Make sure that it's still on the little pulleys over here. See, that belt has to go around the pulley. Nice and tight there. Now, if this is wobbly, this is an eccentric nut, and you want to adjust that with your wrench that came in your kit. Now we put this piece back on. On this, the flat hole goes in the back, and the concave hole goes in the front. Also, take note that when you're installing this, you want to install it so that the nozzle points to you in this configuration. This is about the, because see, that's going to go back on there like that, and you want that nozzle pointing down. And you only want to do this once. I've done this about 3 times, and it's just a pain in the butt. Okay. You can hold that there. And I'm going to put that on for now just to hold it together. And then we're going to have to reinstall our bracket. Now the bracket only goes one way. You'll see there's an indentation here, and that's for the head of that nut right there. So you can't put this bracket on backwards, which is a good thing. So then we grab our screws. Get the first one in loose. And we want to make sure that we get that hole lined up. Put the other screw in. Jiggle it just a little bit. And then that will. Then we can put this one in. Oh, hello, Steven. Hello, Silver. Good to see you, dickhead. Old man tinkers on printer is about right. Oh, and then we need to line up the hole here. and tighten that up. Oh. So, how's everybody doing this morning? How is your sugar, Silver? Yeah, you got to cross thread those screws. Otherwise, they're not going to get tight. Alright, so now that we got that all assembled again, yeah, pasta will do it, and so does carbs. They never tell you about. So, I gotta readjust my camera. Hold on. Okay. So, a couple of things you want to notice. You got to get the rollers on the track here, but more importantly, you want to get this lead screw in the hole right there. Then we got to get the rollers on the V-rail on both sides, and then carefully you want to twist your twist that down, making sure that your rollers go into your slots on the extrusion, and then the same on this side. Of course, I fudged this a little bit and just kind of push it down. Then you can push the whole gantry down. Don't go too fast, or you'll provide electricity to the stepper motors and electronics, and everybody says that's bad. So, readjust my camera here. So that's that. Now, like I said, see how wobbly this is? You're going to want to take a wrench to the eccentric nut that I pointed out earlier. It's on the bottom of the printer. It's on the underneath carriage back here. Hold on, let me turn this sucker around and we'll see what we're talking about. That's the old unit. And on this wheel, there's a nut behind there that you can adjust that will tighten that carriage up. Here on the old one, you can see it. And you just tighten that up and you're good to go. Alright, so that's the new hot end installed. We're going to do the wiring. Should I go ahead and do the wiring now? Do you want me to just do the whole install? Or should I break it up into sections? Because then I got to get up and get my wrench to tighten that up. Yeah, I'll do that later. So now you want to reinstall the top bar, which we laid to the side. And we will just Put those in there like that. Give them a little twist. Hold them down. Give it a little twist. Get it all lined up. What I like to do is move the carriage back up so that it's near the top. Like that. And then that kind of spreads those out a little. Make sure that they don't pinch later on. And then we tighten those 4 bolts up. Minutes. I don't know how people do this for hours and hours on end. Remember to always use the short end of your wrench, not the ball end, when you're tightening, so that the ball doesn't break off. And we just make those kind of finger tight, not He-Man tight. Who knows, I may be taking this thing apart for another project. Alrighty, now we can take the old extruder. So that's pretty much back together. We just got to hook up the wiring, set our Z level. I'm gonna have to adjust this switch here because this hot end, I don't know if you caught it or not. This hot end actually has a longer, it's not quite a volcano hot end, although it might be, but it's a longer nozzle than the old one, so that means that this height from the gantry is going to be more than what it was before on the old one. Now, some people leave the old extruder on. And remember, people, this is your hot end. This is your extruder. Now, some people leave this old extruder on, but I like to take it off. And it's very simple. There's 4 screws, and it reduces the weight that this thing's pushing up and down. Yes, they do have small battery powered screwdrivers, but I'm not rich enough. I mean, I've got a frickin' shirt cam on right now just so that I can get this video done, because I've been putting it off and putting it off. So we want to take the extruder drive off, and we can't really take that cable out because it goes to the X, or the X limit switch and the X motor. So then we grab our handy dandy wrench again and go up here to the extruder, and we've got a bolt here, a bolt here, bolt here, and then there's a bolt underneath this lever arm. So the first bolt we want to take out is this one. It's going to be a little tight. Take this one out. It holds this spring on, so you got to be careful that the spring doesn't pop out on you when you're pulling that screw out. And I say all this from experience, having the screw spring pop out on me on previous builds. And then you just want to kind of pull that spring out. There's a little nub over on this side, but I like to just wiggle that spring out of there. You can see that nub right there. Okay, so now we can take the rest of this screw out. And that holds the extruder arm, the extruder tension arm. Now we can see that hidden screw that was under there. So you're going to want to support the oh man, see, this is what I don't understand about 3D printers. You got one wrench, that's not the right size. You got to go a smaller, so then you got to dig into your bag of wrenches and get a smaller one out. I don't understand why they can't just make them all the same size. Okay, so I'm going to break the tension on those, then we can twirl. Make sure you support that motor because it's going to want to drop. Again, from experience, having that motor drop on your bed is not a good thing. Alright, so then you can bring the motor down, the stepper motor, set it aside, then you can lift off this plate, set that aside, sell it on eBay, do whatever you want, and that frees up this whole bracket. Alright, and so that's all of the mechanical. Now we get into the electrical. So we're just going to go through. Let's just power through this. What the heck, Silver? You got anything else to do? So, when you're running your wires, you might think, hey, I'll run my wires over the top of my crossbar here, and that way they won't interfere down here. Well, the problem with that is the wires they supply are not really long enough to go from the control box all the way up the crossbar and then all the way back down for when you're starting your prints. So make sure that when you're running your wires, you run them under the crossbar, because your crossbar is still going to be able to go to the top, okay, and your wires are still going to be able to fit underneath. So just make sure you do that. Again, experience. Okay. Oh yeah, you want to tighten up your belts. That's something else that you want to look at doing. Make sure your carriage moves well and your belts are tight. So now we move on to the next phase of electronics, and to do that we have to turn the machine around again. I need a bigger workbench. I need one of those nice turntables like Tim has with DeWitt 3D. Doing what it takes. Okay. So the first screw that we need to take out is right there. And this will get us to our control box. So that we can take out our wiring for the old one, put in our wiring for the new one. So again, we use our wrench, and it's a different size. So always have your wrenches. Nice little set of wrenches there. Okay. I like to make sure my workspace is tidy here. So I'm going to set all that stuff up here. So, okay. I don't know how people do this for a living. Okay, let's run the gantry back down. And then we've got to flip the whole printer up on its backside. Being careful not to bend these wires in the back. Yeah, my table's not big enough. Oh, old man tinkering with printers. Okay, so on the back side, or on the underside, we've got 3 bolts, 3 screws that hold the control panel on. So we take those off. Now this is the longest screw. It goes in the back because it goes into this extrusion down here. These other 2 screws are shorter, and so you don't want to get them messed up, because then you'll be taking them apart over and over and over again. And we don't want that to happen. We want you to do this one time. Alright, again, you want to hold this cover up while you're unscrewing the screws so the cover doesn't fall off. Because you don't want your fan to come colliding down. Okay, now your fan is connected there. You're going to need to make note that it's that one and not this one. It's the black and red, not the blue and yellow. Okay, that's your control board fan. Set that aside. And we look at the wires rat's nest that is the Creality board. So these are the wires that come from the hot end. So we need to take all those out. We've got thick red wires that are the heater. We've got thin black and red wires that is the hot end fan. We've got the part cooling fan, which is our blue and yellow wires, and then we have the thermistor, which is our white wire. So you might have some glue up in here, so you need to take that thermistor wire out. You need to take the fan wire out. And then you need to take the heater out of the power block and the fan out of the power block. So they may or may not have ferrules on them. This one, coming straight from Creality, obviously has no ferrules. And then that's the fan. So now we've taken those wires out of the old hot end completely. Back those up a little bit. And then we need the wires for the new hot end. Which are way over here. Again, you want to make sure that you route these properly. Because if you don't route them now, you're going to have to take them out and reroute them later on. Again, speaking from experience. Okay, so these are eventually going to route up through here and into here, and we've got a whole new set of wires. Oh, the other wire that we need to take out is our extruder motor wire, and that's the one all the way up here at the top. It's marked with a little E tag. Can you see that? It says E. You can't really see that. Man, the focus on this camera is terrible. Okay, so on the new wiring loom we have an extruder motor driver. So that just plugs back in there where the old one went. We have fan 1, which replaces our hot end fan. So that goes in there, like that. We have the black wires. This says E- on it. And we have EC. Oh. EC. Let's see if I can focus my camera a little better. Yeah, I can't spring for the autofocus cameras either. EC, that's your thermistor control. So that goes back where the white wires went. We have this E-, and that goes into this plug next to the power block on the bottom 2 pins. Alright, then we got the heater control. Black goes to the top, and that has to go into this hole down here, right there. Oh man, that camera is really out of focus. That's a little better. Is that a little better? Yeah, that's a little better. So the black wire goes on top. Kind of hard to see what's going on in there. But there's little holes in there. I don't know if you can see them. There's little bitty holes in there that we have to get our wire into, like that. And this is a little bit of a pain in the butt to do. Some people take the board out. Makes it a little easier, but then you got to put the board back in. So, since I'm an old man, I like to struggle. It gives me something to live for every day. Got that one in. You can't even tell what I'm doing. Yeah, this shirt cam's not working so well. You want to give those a little tug, make sure that they're properly in there. And the last two wires we have are for the fan control. Again, black goes on top. And that's all the wiring that we have to hook up. So black goes on top, red goes on bottom. Get them into those little holes again. And we give them a little tug. Make sure they're seated properly. Like that. See that? Yeah, okay. Oh, and that's all the wiring. Okay, I'm just going to leave this extruder cable hanging in here. It's not going to do anything. It's just an empty wire, but in their amazing thoughtfulness, they just put it in with this other wire, and I don't feel like messing with any of those. So then we kind of straighten all these up. Put them into that little slot. Make sure everything bundles up well. Grab our cover, plug our fan back in. And we can button this lid back on. Okay, fan's plugged in. Wires are all within the little trap. We'll put this on here. Line up our screw holes. Again, we want to use the short screws up here in the top. And the long screw goes in the bottom. Now, there is a piece on Thingiverse that you can print out. You can print it and then it locks in this extrusion, and I would suggest that you do that. Kind of cuts down on the possibility of the extrusion chafing your wires. And we all know that chafing wires is not good. Get that in the hole. Tighten that up. Tighten that up. Tighten that up. Then we got one more screw left in the top. Get that screw in. Shade tree printer repair. Okay. Now the next thing that we want to do is check our Z level. So we bring our nozzle all the way down. Turn this just a little bit. Okay, our Z is going to be hitting on this bracket, in the bottom of this bracket on here. So we want to bring the hot end all the way down. Bring our bed out a little bit. Oh, and this printer does not have any electricity. It doesn't even have a power cord going to it. So make sure that you do not have the electricity applied to this in any way. Turn this again just a little bit so that we can see. Let me bring the camera down a little. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Back this up a little bit. beep, beep, beep. Making the backup sounds. So that you can kind of see what we're going to be doing here. We have this switch here. Needs to hit on that before the nozzle hits the bed. So we bring all this down, down. Oh, that's a nice camera angle. Again, this is our extruder wire that we can not worry about anymore. So, I'm going to get that puppy down until it is a paper length away. .02 millimeters. What they say in all the books. For those kids that are using their feeler gauges. Ha 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 ha. We're going to take a piece of paper. I'm going to run that down. See, our head bobbles a little. So let's tighten this. Let's bring this up. Let's go ahead and tighten that eccentric nut. There's a little nut right back there. Oh. Oh, but my Delta has a screw. I have a screw to the Z end stop. Oh, no wobble on that, and it still rolls. That's sweet. I like it. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to this side. Run that back down. Like I said, I've done this about 4 or 5 times now. I don't know what you mean, Steve, when you say add a screw to the Z end stop. You mean like on the switch here so that you can adjust it like what's on the king rune, or something else? Clarify, please, sir. Okay, so I put the piece of paper under there just to protect the bed. Yeah, just like the king rune. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's actually a pretty simple design, and it works really well. I remember seeing an old video from Chris Riley where he did that on an ender, where he printed out a little, he put the Z end stop here, or mounted it down here, and then had a screw or something. It may not have been on an ender, but I remember him doing that attached to the gantry. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do it, that's for sure. Now I need my hex key so that I can loosen up. You want to loosen up these two screws here so you can move that up and down, because right now, as you can see, our nozzle is almost touching the bed, and we want to bring it down so that it is touching the bed, just like that. And that's where I move my Z limit switch. So I loosen up these screws back here, loosen up the screws that are holding this in just a little bit. You don't need to take them all the way out. And then just kind of shimmy that up until you hear it click. And that's where your Z end stop needs to go. You don't want it to go any lower than that. Alright? Then we'll be bringing it into the bed. And we don't like nozzles in our bed. So then we tighten that up. And that's it. At this point, you would plug it in. Like I said, I don't have power on it right now, and I don't really have the I don't have it set up in a spot where I can plug power to it, so I will have to do that at a later time. And it's 12:15, so I gotta go eat lunch. Alrighty, so that is the Z limit switch, and that is a new hot end installed on my ender. Then what you also need to do is probably zip tie this cord onto your bracket to keep it from hitting any of the prints. So you want to do that at some point. Make sure this is all the way over here so that you know how long that cable is supposed to be, and you can attach it with the zip tie, and you're good to go. Alright, well, it's been fun, guys. It's been real, but it hadn't been real fun. And so that concludes the first in a series of old man tinkering with a 3D printer. Alright. Oh, so take care, have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.